Hey NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIFBALL Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, this is Corey Thorpe back with another edition of the NAIFBALL Podcast, powered by AdCraft Sports. AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch. Since 1974, they've been your partner with the best merch that you can get anywhere. I see that they've got their Grandview merch up now, and looks pretty nice up there. But again, you don't come to hear me rave about merch. You come for the coaches. Tonight, we've got Texas Wesleyan head coach Joe Prud'homme. Coach, how's it going tonight?
Doing great. How about yourself, Warren?
Hey, doing well. We're actually, believe it or not, we're in the 80s this week. In North Florida, we're in the 80s. I could not be happier about the weather.
Yeah, we're 88 today, so it was crazy.
So right now we've got a lot of controlled burns going around, and so it wasn't a nice sunny 80, but I'd rather have controlled burns than the out of control kind any day.
No doubt. With you on that.
So, Coach, taking a look back over the schedule in 2022, and I looked at and saw and have always been curious about how did that Global Classico game, how did that get put together? That was such a fun game to be able to do.
It was really, really awesome. We tried to do it back in 2020. That didn't quite work out because of COVID. And then we made a little run at it in 21, and we couldn't get everything lined up. They said they could play before, they had to play the 0 date. So I saw them at the 22 AFCA. We talked about it again. Patrick Steenberg put us together with Global Football, and we talked about it. And Arizona Christian was very good to have that date, let it flip, from the Global Classico to the second date. And it was just sounded so much fun to do an international game in Fort Worth, the first one of its kind. And it was a great cultural exchange between the two programs, and it was a lot of fun, man. A lot of great sponsors involved. MBT, National Bank of Texas, came in and sponsored it. Had a huge concert that was great. It was just a neat deal all the way around, and it was really great for the city of Fort Worth. But that's kind of how it evolved. We talked, and when it didn't work out, we made another run at it. Didn't work out. Third time it did, and then we got together and say, hey, let's do this. And ACU was kind enough to flip the schedule with us, and we were able to make it happen.
I know other sports, baseball, for example. We've got a couple teams in the NAI that are in Canada. Do you see a potential for the NAI to go across either border, whether it be Mexico or Canada?
They could. I think that's a little off in the future at this point, just because of the logistics involved, the gravity, how much you got to move in football as far as travel expenses and travel. But it was a great experience for us. ONIFA is down in Canada. Down in Mexico, and they have a great league going on. Canada would be, I would think, a little closer possibility as far as maybe coming in. But for us, Mexico makes better sense geographically. But, who knows in the future? Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Of course, if you're talking Canada, it's not like in baseball where they play the same baseball that we do. You'd have to make sure they are actually playing American rules.
Well, they did down in Mexico, so that's what was really good. It was all the same in Mexico.
Right, but for Canadian football, you have to make sure you're not you have to make sure your goalposts are in the right spot.
Yeah, and who's in motion and who's not, and in what area. Yeah, you're exactly right.
That might be a little tough for doing it in Canada. Looking down through the schedule, you got off to a really good start. You're scoring more than 45 points in each of your first three ball games. You get two shutouts here, and then you host Ottawa, and I guess the good news is that you're 5 of 5 on field goals, but I know that you'd rather have 6 and not 3 in those.
Yeah.
Did you talk with your team afterwards about making sure that you're finishing drives and doing that and getting 6, not 3?
Yeah, in all caps. Let's just put it that way. It was in all caps. You got to capitalize when you're down there, and we could have possibly been a little bit more aggressive, but 4th and 6 and 4th and 5s, you got to get points, and we just didn't cash in at the right times. And even at the end of the game, we're still throwing the ball in the end zone. The last 3 balls, you just got to complete one of those, and it was a situation that we got to grow up in, and they understood that. And but you got to cash in the red zone. And that's been a real point of emphasis the rest of the year. But even in spring ball, there's certain things we're doing just out of that game alone that we want to fix and get better at.
And then, we keep going. Are folks going to stop overlooking Louisiana Christian at some point? Because by Jove, they're the thorn in the side of everyone trying to lead the Sooner at this point.
No, I totally agree. They're good. They're well coached. That their run game with the quarterback was very, very good. We in our game, I'm not going to make any excuses, but coming off the Langston, we beat them handily, and we were number 19, they were number 20, and our kids kind of had this impression we'd slayed a giant that we had never been able to really beat. We'd been close a few times, but we beat them. And then we go out to Louisiana Christian, and that's a very tough place to play. I mean, you're going to walk a good mile from where they have you dress to where you're on the field. And so it kind of nerves you a little bit. It's our first time there. I mean, we know how we'll attack it next time, but they played good football and they made some plays early and they got rolling. And I was very impressed with their game plan and their execution. We just didn't get it done. We didn't show up the way we needed to, and they gave us exactly what we deserved for not doing it. But they ran a fake punt early, scored on it. We've been blocking punts pretty regularly. We were a little over aggressive. One kid didn't do what he was supposed to do. They took advantage of it. But the thing that impressed me about them is they were so patient with their offense. 5 yards is great. 4 yards is really good. 3.5 we're good with. And when you can do that and put it together consistently and then play good defense and really strong defense, you're going to win a lot of games. And, I for one will not worry about. I mean, that'll be a point of emphasis for Louisiana Christian from now on.
I mean, they've bitten Langston the last couple of years. I have no idea how people aren't doing it. And I was thinking, some schools paint their visitors' locker rooms pink. Some just make you walk a mile to the stadium.
Yeah. It's no doubt about it. There's a certain I don't want to say voodoo because that's a little strong, but for Louisiana, it kind of fits. Those dudes, when you go there, they play at a little different level. The fans are really good and loud, and they come out a little different at home than they do on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been hearing when asking. We had folks on earlier this year. I'm trying to look and see who it was. Jeff Bowen on, and he said the same thing. It was such a hard place to play. So let's take a look at your team from a year ago, and let's see what we've got coming back and what you got to do going forward. You returned the most all-conference players in the Sooner. That to me is it's a good way to start the next year when you've got a lot of kids coming back that got accolades the year before, especially for a team that on Selection Sunday was on the outside looking in a little bit and all the rigmarole that came with the Sooner bid this year. I know y'all are probably looking to win it outright next year, but let's take a look at your offense. You've got Carson Rogers coming back under center. You do lose Dalton Dale there, but you've got a 1,300 basically yard rusher in Ernie Caesar, who was a weapon out of the backfield as well with 4 receiving touchdowns. Jason Price, while not the leading receiver, is going to be shifty as all get out with 4 special teams touchdowns. You've got 3 all-conference linemen returning, and Cam Chapman, who I'm going to assume he's really good at blocking because he was all-conference with 104 receiving yards. Talk to me about becoming even more explosive and efficient at that matter for a team that was really good offensively a year ago.
We, like you said, we got the experience back. We have 4 of the 5 starters back on the offensive line, and that's big. They all had, 10 starts each. 11 starts each. So they're all back with that experience. Um, AJ Bob got hurt early. AJ Bob is every bit explosive as Jason Price. He got hurt against Wayland, had a hamstring. When he comes back, we're really expecting big things out of him. Ernie played, there was like 5 games where he didn't play the fourth quarter. He could have very easily been another 300 yards. I mean, he could have been a 1,600-yard rusher. He averaged 9 yards a carry. We pulled him out of games because we had a good lead and we didn't want to expose him. Cole Francis is going to really push Carson Rogers for the pivot job there at quarterback. He's had an outstanding offseason already. We redshirted him intentionally. He was very good when he came in and played. But we're looking to, we recruited some really explosive kids. That's what we look for more than anything else. Whenever we're recruiting, it's all about how they run, how dynamic they are, what they can bring to the offense or defense, either one, whatever it is. But we want kids that can fly. And if you can't fly, then you better be really good at something else. So I feel good about it. We got some backs that are back. We got Nick David West, who's going to be really good. We redshirted Ashton Mitchell Johnson. He's right at 205 right now, and he looks great. He's a freshman. And Jakeem Patrick played in a couple games against Wayland. He played against Wayland, and I think it was Sagu. He looked really good. Had a little injury with his ankle, so we went ahead and redshirted him. He came from Air Force Academy. So we feel good about who we have and where we're going. We had some, Darren White's another hip tight end that we have who's really fast. He only played in a few games. So we feel good about it. Caleb McKinney's coming back as a tight end as well, kind of one of those guys that can either be attached or not attached. So we have to build on it. We have to be more explosive. We got to be a little bit better in the red zone, but I feel good about where we are offensively.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. Just looking at up and down the schedule, I mean, other than the losses, I think your lowest scoring output was 35 points to Saga, who always trots out a really solid defense. So there's no shame on that one. Defensively, you're bringing back 3 really good folks on your defensive line, 2 all Sooner Conference, and Kobe Adams and Sir Hill. Jay Reed didn't make the cut, but was your leading tackler. Talk to me. A lot of these guys have a ton of forced fumbles, interceptions, pass breakups. Talk to me about kind of your next man up there, where in your secondary, where you're losing Chance Carroll and Vondres LaFrance.
Yeah, we're losing those guys. We had Javari Sanders, who played a lot as a nickel last year behind Vondres, did really well when he came in and played. He'll be a sophomore. Jay Reed, I was shocked that he didn't get, the All Sooner Athletic Conference anything there. I was really surprised by that because Jay Reed, I put him up for the MVP because I thought he was the best football player because he was so different. He could play back deep. He could play up in the box. He could play on the edge. He could do a lot of things. He was just so dynamic. And we got some guys coming. We have a graduate transfer, Arian Bott out of Missouri State, who we're really excited about. He's a really high academic kid, but he's an MBA candidate. And he's also, he started 2 years there. So he's coming in to help the defense. He'll be an interior guy. He's coming off of ACL from a year and a half ago. I think he's going to be very dynamic. We've got some guys coming at linebacker, Glory Lulu, who is a absolute athletic marvel. He can go. I mean, he is very, very athletic, can go, can run. We kept him back to redshirt him. He gave our offense fits all year. They couldn't block him. He could get where he wanted. He'll help us at linebacker. We have Sincere coming back on at one of the corner spots. He's going to really help us. He's a big 6'3" corner, so we feel good about him as well. We got Eccles, who's coming back as a corner flash. He could even play some safety. He's a really, really athletic kid. He's out of Houston, Katy. He's got a chance to be really good for us. There's a lot of kids that could fly on defense. It's just a matter of getting the chemistry right. Eli Chambers is coming back to compete on defense as well as a linebacker spot. We feel good about our defense overall. I mean, we feel it's going to be young. We lost some really experienced kids, but everybody is dynamic. Everybody knows the system to a certain degree. And we just got to get really solidified at corner, we think. And the rest of it, I think the chips will fall into place. We had a great recruiting class. There can be some kids that are freshmen that are going to come in and play possibly. And that's happened every year for us. So I think there's going to be some guys come in and play on defense, but there's going to be some guys come in and play on special teams. And our special teams were really dynamite last year.
I mean, you had a kid, have 4 special teams touchdowns, 2 off a kickoff return, 2 off a punt return. I haven't seen anybody do better than that in reviewing. That's almost got to lead the nation on that. And I will say this about the Sooner: you're always going to have offense. Whether it's going to be y'all, whether it's going to be Ottawa, Arizona Christian, Langston, all of them can put up great numbers. It's going to be who can play the most consistent defense. That's going to really get it done in the Sooner.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I do believe the special teams has kind of separated us from some people. I mean, against Langston, we took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. We hit one of our 2-point plays, and I think we led the nation in 2-point conversions. We had 12 of them. We blocked 12 punts. So that's something that we really hang our hat on is if you're on special teams, you're a dude. If you're not on special teams, you're trying to get on special teams. Starters, it doesn't matter who you are. We kind of were very fortunate in creating that identity. And Price was, he was actually a backup to AJ Bob. AJ Bob was our returner. And then Bob was, had a little injury problem early. Jay Price came in and man, he just turned it up. And so those guys, they openly compete. But, I think special teams is so overlooked in a lot of ways. But man, just to get those 2-point plays, get those returns, and you're right, he did lead the nation. The 12-point conversion, 2-point conversions led the nation. I would imagine the 12 block punts had to be up in the top 3 or 4. So those are game-changing plays. But you're right, the defense is going to really dictate, who's going to control the center.
And you look at some of the greats, even outside of the NAI, that I can think of off the top of my head that really emphasized special teams and had their dudes playing special teams. The 2 that come to mind right off the top of my head are Bobby Bowden and my mind just blanked. Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer.
Beamer, yeah.
And they were all about blocking them.
Well, you create opportunities and you just change the whole momentum of the game. I mean, everybody likes to get the ebb and flow. Okay, you punt it to us, we'll catch it, we'll fair catch, or we'll get a little, whatever. And then now we're going to take turns possessing the ball. I think it's really important, not only from a tactical, but from a psychological point of view, that you have to block or we're going to block that punt. You're going to have to, be lined up for a 2-point play. You're going to have to do X, Y, Z, or we could be taking advantage of. That gets you a little bit on edge. And then whenever you capitalize, even though they're waiting on it, it just kind of gives you a good, advantage at times. And so many people don't take, they don't take that and use it to their advantage. So, no, you're right. I mean, you're right. Bobby Bowden and Beamer are freaking off the chain on that deal.
So, looking at your schedule for 2023, I think this is the first time I've been able to do this for anybody. We're getting into that schedule season. Y'all are going to have to start fast next year. Y'all got a couple of games in your first 4 that'll probably have you. Oh man, opening against Ottawa of Arizona at home, man. That's gotta that. There's good things and there's bad things about opening up against a really good opponent. One, it does increase your stress level a little bit, but 2, boy, it focuses your kids like nothing else.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the thing is you better come out of the box, and that's what we've been talking about ever since the schedule came out and the Sooner handed us that conference schedule. I looked at it like, you're kidding, right? I mean, we're opening with Ottawa. Of course they do a draw and they put all the numbers in. It's supposed to be a blind random deal, and I'm sure it is, but I was like, man, somebody's got a really wicked sense of humor to put us with those dudes right off the bat. And, that's the one team in the conference we have not been able to beat, in our 5 years of existence. So that is something that we have to overcome. And then you're right, man, 3 games later, we're playing St. Thomas out of Florida. And they're outstanding. I mean, you talk about a great football team. So if we don't get out of the gate quick, church. We'll play out and everything, do what we got to do, but we have to be ready early. And we have so much respect for, Coach Nesbitt, what he does at Ottawa and what's going on at St. Thomas. And, we felt like St. Thomas and myself both felt like on Selection Sunday that, the party wasn't quite as full as it should have been. I'll just go with that. So we decided, he contacted me, hey, you want to play? I said, sure. He goes, one of us got to make a push. And I said, let's go for it. And we went from there. And I think that's fair that they were a great football team. We felt like we were a really, good football team. Was a little underrated, maybe really underrated, who knows? But yeah, we don't come out of the gate, man. It's gonna be a short season as far as that's concerned. But man, I couldn't believe that when I saw that.
Well, Coach, you mentioned St. Thomas, and I might start feeling sorry for them at some point, because we talked to folks over at Carroll last week. Talked to Coach Purcell, and they're going up to Carroll too. They're going to have a whale of a schedule next year.
Yeah.
But one thing that is common between, I think, both schools, whether it's St. Thomas or Texas Wesleyan, is the backing of the athletics department and the school as a whole. Talking to other people around the Sooner, we bring up Texas Wesleyan, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is winners, and trying to be a champion at everything that y'all do, even if it's, what is it, ping pong?
Yeah, I mean, you're politically incorrect, so I have to say table tennis just so I can set
Okay,
it
fine.
straight. But no, I'm with you. It's ping pong, but they are really, really good. Our women's basketball team just won conference. Our men's basketball team's won a couple national titles. Everybody's been really, really good. The last 2 years we've been able to kind of, get back in the fold with them. Before then, so we were so young, we just weren't very good, and we felt like we were at the back of the room. But we're back up to the front of the room, and we're proud of that. But bringing the stadium in, man, that's going to change everything for us. Being able to be on campus, because right now, Corey, we're on the road for practice and games. I bet we're the only conference champion in the nation who went and carpooled to every practice and every game.
Thinking about it, you may be right. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, you look at Miami, and Miami has to drive to their stadium, and you see how empty their stadium is. I mean, I think it's great for your students. It's great for your fans to be able to get that on-campus experience, and it allows you to be a little bit more at home.
No question. But I mean, even for the practice side of things, when you're out renting and you're at the mercy of other people, and then they say, hey, we got a junior high semifinal playoff game tonight. You guys got to get off an hour early. That conversation goes south pretty quick. When you're going to play Langston or you're going to go play Ottawa or whoever, and you're like, yeah. So then you got to pivot. You got to go find somewhere else to practice. There's 3 city stadiums we use, so that's fine. But that's hard to digest as you're trying, and you're not in the flow of, hey, let's walk over here to practice and go do our thing, or whatever. I mean, being off site for games, that's not a problem, but being off site for practice, that's tough because you got labs, you got all kinds of things kids are doing that it can kind of take away from it. So just having that on campus is going to just change everything for us, and your student life is going to be so much better.
You talked about the trouble with football earlier, about having to lug all the equipment around. Good Lord, you got to get all your equipment up, take it to another stadium, unpack it, get it repacked up. Yeah, that's no bueno. I'm glad
No,
y'all are getting a new one.
no, we're great at logistics though. We can move at a moment's notice, and we kind of laughed about it. Kind of early on in the early days, we talked about, well, if nothing else, we can all go into moving. We can go into logistics. We can go into problem solving. We can go into resources unlimited and how to maximize. And those conversations kind of keep you going when times are dark. So we've gotten better. So it's now in our rearview mirror, we hope.
Well, Coach, one thing that we know for certain is if you're not improving, every day, every week, every month, you're falling behind. It is definitely a treadmill, and it doesn't matter what avenue it is. That's just sort of the way life is.
Yeah. No
So,
doubt.
so what area of your program, whether it be on the field or off the field, are you really looking to focus on and improve in 23?
Small details, the very small details that you think are so insignificant. Everything we're doing right now is about your routine and about your small details. If your routine is not matched up with success, if you are not getting out of the bed ready to go and taking care of everything proactively, academics number one, but also the way you're taking care of yourself, the way you're coming to practice, the way you come in and perform for workouts, for study hall, for whatever it is, you're going to fall behind. And we're just not going to tolerate it. So the small details are everything to us at this point. We got to improve on the field in the last 4 minutes of the half, in the first 4 minutes of the second half. Those we call it the dominate eight. We have to do that. That's something that has to happen. We have to be better in the red zone. But all the small details and attention to that will lead to bigger results. We have a real structure in place where we feel good about. We play real complementary football now. We play a defense that gets us off the field, creates turnovers. We got an offense that can, we have ball control going on. We put a lot of points up. We have special teams creating opportunities. So all that has now gotten more complementary. So now all those small details that players and coaches can take care of before they ever get to the facility, ever get to the complex, ever get to the classroom, get that done ahead of time. We're done with thought I did it, or I should have done it, or I'm behind. And I think by getting that mindset now, we've already seen an improvement in our players and in just the way they're executing at this point. They now expect to be, to do well. It's not hope, it's expectation. So I feel good about that.
That's a big move in mindset to be able to do that, and when you expect things to be done the right way in a championship manner, that's what's going to happen. I mean, championship mindsets beget championship mindsets. So we are, thank you for coming on the NAIF Ball Podcast tonight. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And man, I I know it's late February, and I should be happy with the flag football that I'm getting, but I'm still ready for fall.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've got two guys that coached for me last year that are in XFL coaching now,
Oh,
so
nice.
I get to kind of watch that a little bit. But no, I can't wait. I cannot wait for this coming year. I cannot wait. Well, I can kind of wait for Ottawa a little bit because that's always a little bit stressful. But it'll be fun to have our guys ready. The processes are better in place. The leadership, the culture is better now, and it's more mature, I guess, because we just now graduated a lot of guys who were with us as original guys through the COVID times. There's just so much, positive going the right direction. And, we got a new president coming, so we'll see how that turns out. But I got to believe anybody would want to come be president here to finish off the building of the program and a lot of the great things going on in Fort Worth. And I'm with you, Corbin. I cannot wait to strap up, see what we have, and let's get on to the next one because I think this coming year is going to be really exciting.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the NAIF Ball Podcast presented by AdCraft USA. Be sure to contact them for all your custom apparel, merch, and uniform needs. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast as well as to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. As always, if you'd like to support what we do, head over to patreon.com/NAIAFBALL and become a patron. We can't do what we do without our sponsors and listeners like you.